Good morning officially, and thank you on behalf of the DigitBrain Consortium for joining us today for this webinar. My name is Giacomo Benedetti, and I'm project manager at Start 4.0, which let's say coordinates the DIH's Digital Innovation Hubs of the project in the DigitBrain action. I will be the moderator of the second edition of the DigitBrain Open Call webinar, which targets both the latecomers, let's say, and those who are already running towards the application. So no matter which category you belong to, by discovering the core boundaries, which are the expected use cases, and also what other SMEs like yours have already achieved within the project, this webinar will help you to better hit the narrow target of the open call. So I will open the works by providing you with an overview of cascade funding mechanism and of our open call process. Then Antonio Ortiz, DigitBrain project coordinator at P&O Consultants, will give you an overview of the project. We will go more into technical details with Professor Anders Stork at the Fraunhofer Institute for Computer Graphics Research, which technically coordinates the whole project's implementation in order to highlight which experiment use cases we seek to finance with this open call, and also to fix some key concepts in your mind, which are very important for a successful application. Then we'll give you a taste of what you can achieve with DigitBrain, thanks to the witness of one of the experiments that have been running since the start of the project, which will be presented by engineer Dario Pietraroia from Technology Transfer System. And finally, we'll have plenty of room, hopefully, for discussion and a Q&A session within which I will involve also other partners which are in charge of certain aspects pertaining to the open call and to the project. Okay, so just a quick recall of the rules of this webinar you are probably already used to. We do a lot of webinars each day. I think you participate in a lot of virtual events. So we are 33 participants right now. So I would ask you to mute you. You are free to ask questions through the chat. That you can even use to interact with each other if you wish so. For instance, by sharing contact details or candidating your organization as a partner if you wish so. Questions will be then addressed during the Q&A session following the panelist presentation. Should at the end of the webinar you have new question arising at the end, drop us a line at any time at the centralized email address opencall@digitbrain.eu, or contact me also directly. Of course, the webinar is being recorded and will be made available via the funded box and the DigitBrain website. Let me start by telling a word on European Commission cascade funding mechanism, because I think one of the main strengths of the project is indeed the transfer of funds to SMEs like yours, supporting their innovation. Okay, so basically cascade funding implies open calls run by individual projects funded under Horizon 2020. Money is therefore cascaded from the Commission to the project, and then in turn to successful participants in the open calls that such projects promote. It is officially called financial support to third parties because third party is the legal definition of applicant. So you are actually a third party, a potential third party. But which are the reason behind and the benefits of cascade funding? There are several. compared to a traditional Horizon 2020 competitive call proposal, which is not a secret that is difficult to access for SME that don't have a business line dedicated to funding opportunities. But the main advantage is that the application is much simpler and shorter. And considering the timeline for this first open call that we will see in a minute, this is definitely a major advantage. Well, I would skip the others' advantage and benefits for the sake of brevity, but have a look at them, okay? So on the other side, I would say that the only drawback of the open calls is that they are usually hard to find. So here is a few links. You can simply double click on the logos starting from our website, which will be constantly updated with information on our open calls. You can visit the portal that aggregates all the projects opportunities falling within the Innovation for Manufacturing SMEs initiatives of the European Commission, the I4MS, or you can even widen your search by visiting regularly the European Commission website on competitive calls. Okay, so let's have a look there. Now let's start going deeper in the opportunities that DigitBrain offers with its open calls. There will be 2 open calls. Also, Antonio will better show the timeline of the 2 open calls along the course of the action, which with which we expect to support 14 innovative experiments in total to support the validation of the DigitBrain solutions. So 7 experiment proposals will be selected for each open call. And since the overall budget that can be cascaded within the DigitBrain project is 1.4 million euros, it's easy to see that a grant of around 100,000 euros per experiment is foreseen. But whom these open calls are dedicated to? At the helm, we find SMEs and mid-caps belonging to the manufacturing sector acting as main end user of the experiment themselves. So those who are posing the use case and the one that we'll see later on, which is the industrial product to be modeled. Then at least one other organization acting as a technical partner, thus the one that provides the solution the end user and integrates it with DigitBrain. Any of these ISVs, engineering consultants, or research organization can act as a technical partner, whereas other actors may join the consortium, such as digital innovation hubs external to the DigitBrain consortium, if duly justified to support the above mentioned categories. So 2 important things to note. The first one is that consortia must be made up at least by 1 end user leading the experiment and 1 technical partner as bare minimum. Okay. Secondly, all the proposals must be established in the European Union, the associated countries to the Horizon 2020 program, or the United Kingdom. Of course, Professor Anders Stork will better address this later on, but let me also give you some hints on which applications experiments we are searching for. They can cover any segments in the manufacturing sector at large, with a preference for those segments that where digital technologies are in a way underexploited. All the application experiments are expected to model the behavior of an industrial product. We'll see later on the definition exactly, by means of a digital twin. And they are expected to demonstrate the benefits in different phases of the life cycle of this industrial products, its adaptation and evolution to the next generation ones. The experiment then should be run so that data, models, and algorithms are incorporated and validated in the DigitBrain testbed, and this is very, very important. But within these boundaries, we are seeking for basically innovative use cases, and here you can find just a batch of examples which I encourage you not to consider as an exhaustive list. So here is the timeline for the first open call that has been launched last month, starting from 1st July, following which, it will take, let's say, it will be open until the 30th of June, and from the 1st of July, there will be the selection process. Following which we'll have the contracting process to regulate the conditions to carry out all the work described in the proposal. So a final contract, let's say, triggering the experiment, will be signed between the applying consortia and the DigitBrain Cascade Funding Manager, CTA. So signatures are planned for September 2021. The experiments will be therefore triggered, and from there on they will start their execution phase and will run for 12 months in total, so until September 2022. But let's see what's in it for you in this window here, meaning up to the submission application. As you can see, the process for applying is definitely simple and implies the involvement of digital innovation hubs for preparing a successful proposal, so to help you hitting the target. Given the time is short, unless you have only questions regarding administrative aspects, I would encourage you to contact directly the DIHs covering your region with the concept of your application experiment. Okay, and here it comes an important point, that as we want to stress that money is definitely not the only type of support that we provide to third parties, because within the project, because we are 6 DIHs, Digital Innovation Hub, involved in the project, with the precise role of providing help to proposal before the submission, and also to provide technical and business support along with each successful experiment execution if they are selected for funding. So each experiment consortium is strongly encouraged to contact his respective DIH according to the country which they are from. You see here a picture, let's say, representing the regional coverage of the DIHs, which is better detailed in the guide for applicants. And this brings me to the next slide. Because to prepare a successful application, and ideally before contacting DIHs, you must be aware of a series of information which are very, very well explained and detailed in a document toolkit made up of 4 main documents. Okay, since time is short, I will briefly, I will skip it. You can find the description here, but basically the guide for applicants is your main documents for having all the insights regarding the open call process. Apart from this webinar, the short technical documents is fundamental to understand the basis and the information of the DigitBrain from a technical point of view. The proposal template is the one that you have then to fill completely and to upload on the portal. And then the open call document also contains some important information regarding the compliance with European Commission rules. Okay, so of course you have to register to the dedicated portal that you will find at digitbrain.fundingbox.com, and which has a very, very intuitive interface. The application experiment proposal drafted using the template we have seen before must be attached in the PDF format and uploaded. Of course, you can upload your proposal several times. You can override previous version, whatever you do. The submission but must be completed by 5 p.m. Brussels time of the 30th of June. Otherwise, your proposal cannot be accepted for evaluation. If you don't miss this deadline, of course, you will receive an electronic receipt of a successfully submitted application, meaning that your proposal has been accepted as eligible for an evaluation, let's say, not necessarily for funding. So, but before I leave the floor to Antonio, just let me recap some figures, let's say, as far as the open call funding structure is concerned. We said the maximum amount for financial support available for the first open call is up to 600,000 euros. So 7 experiments are expected to be granted, but the maximum amount for financial support must not exceed 60,000 euros per third party, covering only eligible costs generated during the experiment's lifetime. So direct personal costs, indirect costs, and subcontracts. You'll find the details in the guide for applicants. Additionally, another boundary is that no third party is allowed to have received more than 100,000 euros from Horizon 2020 I4MS and Smart Anything Everywhere open calls. This is something you have to bear in mind. Then another important thing to note that the funding rate is differentiated between, as usual, private entities which will receive a funding based on the 70% of the eligible costs, and for the non-profit legal entities, which will be able to receive 100% of the budget. So after these boundaries, I would conclude just by recalling you that besides money, should you become, let's say, a successful applicant, we are ready to support you as Digital Innovation Hub Network to reap a lot of benefits that you find here. So I will now leave the floor to Antonio for an overview of the DigitBrain project as a whole.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Giacomo. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So as Giacomo has mentioned, I'm going to give a very brief introduction about the general idea of the project, what we're doing, what is it about. So first of all, the DigitBrain consortium. We are 36 partners collaborating together in this endeavor, and there are 3 main categories of partners. First, the core technical and administrative partners, which are focused on the administrative and technical part development in the project. It's composed of SMEs, large companies, research institutions, and universities. Then the experiment partners, which are the partners executing the first wave of experiments in this first year of the project, mainly SMEs and universities. And then we have the network of digital innovation hubs that Giacomo has also shown before, that covers most of the European territory. So if you have any doubts about your idea or your proposal for the open call, just feel free to contact whether directly them or through the open call at the DigitBrain.eu email address. Well, the main challenge that we want to tackle with DigitBrain is to facilitate the customized industrial products and enabling cost-effective, distributed, and localized production for the manufacturing SMEs through technology. So we have different tools such as modeling, simulation, optimization, analytics, artificial intelligence. So the idea is not only to have a digital twin of an instant of the product or the production, but augmenting the concept of digital twin with memorizing capacity to cover the whole lifetime of the product, from the design through the production, use, and final recycling or discarding. So extending this digital twin concept, the idea is to accelerate the adaptation of the manufacturing processes and products to changing conditions that may appear, so enabling flexible manufacturing in order to extend the competitiveness of the European industry. Also to enable personalized manufacturing in an affordable way, because there are many manufacturing SMEs all around Europe that cannot afford high cost of technology, so they just democratize a little bit the access for technology for the manufacturing SMEs all around Europe. Well, the main objectives of the project, the idea is to integrate all the development in the DigitBrain platform. So starting from the digital brain concept that configures, orchestrates everything, so the data, the models, the algorithms, resources, etc. We have also created the manufacturing as a service business model that will be or is being implemented by the digital innovation hubs in the project. We will integrate DigitBrain in the cloud factoring marketplace, so both the digital brain concept and the manufacturing as a service business model. And well, as Giacomo has mentioned before, we will have 3 waves of experiments. The first one executed by partners in the project, and 2 open calls for external entities that will join the project in order to execute the experiment. And the final objective is to evangelize the manufacturing community on the benefits and impact of the manufacturing as a service. So involving them on using technology more and more every day in order to improve their competence. To finalize, just to show the DigitBrain timeline, Giacomo has shown the timeline for this first open call. This is the overall timeline for the project. We are almost finalizing the first wave of experiments, and the first open call is already open. It will close by the end of this month, and the idea is to have another one next year, same time. During the whole duration of the credit, the 4 months, we will provide advanced acting and technical and business support for the experiment, and the implementation, integration, and validation will be continuous through the whole project duration. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. I now let Professor Andres talk to describe what kind of experiments are we expecting. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. I will keep also the floor and the moderator role to Andre.
Okay, so now I shall be ready to go. Can you hear me and see my screen well?
Yes.
Okay,
Very
great.
well.
So it's my pleasure to give you a little bit more details of which experiments and use cases we are looking for. Actually, it's not an easy task to describe or to answer this question, because on the one hand, we would like to give you a direction what we are looking for. On the other hand, we don't want to restrict it too much. So please don't understand this as this is the only thing that we are looking for. Use cases that belong to the field that I'm trying to open in my talk are pretty much appreciated in different kinds and flavors. So please use the opportunity to talk to us whether your use case will actually fit in or not, in case you have any doubts. Okay, so I'd like to emphasize some points that have already been mentioned. DigitBrain is a project around industrial products. Industrial products may not be a very well-established term. You can use it as a kind of a synonym for manufacturing machines, single ones or lines of manufacturing machines, as you will see in the example given by Dario after my presentation. And the second main thing about DigitBrain is that we are focusing on digital twin technology. So the project, the experiment that you are suggesting should aim at modeling and analyzing some behavior, so behavior of different kinds, mechanical behavior based on physics models or data-driven behavior modeled by machine learning approaches. Those are the kind of the core, the core things that shall constitute your experiment. So when we talk about digital twins, we have a definition which is a little bit extended to what you usually see when talking about digital twins. We consider physics-based models and simulation and HPC computing as an important potential part of digital twins. We don't say that digital twins must have it, but it's also not to be neglected. They can be based on analytical models, on time series data, and of course on computations that implement algorithms, programs that evaluate those types of models. So model data and algorithms are important parts that you shall bring to the project with your experiment. So we would like to expand also our offers and give you the possibility to use the marketplace or Agora to promote your service offers via that network, and we'd like to expand that network as it has been already addressed. So let me concentrate on the technical bits and pieces. We would like experiment partners to contribute algorithms, models, and data and separate them, because we don't want you to just provide a digital twin. We would like to see experiments that build digital twins out of these pillars, out of these assets, and have those assets as reusable components that can also be used in other areas or in similar areas. So reusing and democratizing is one of the motivating elements in the whole DigitBrain project. So here you see in the center those assets, data models and algorithms. We also have resources there, and around that you see the different stages of the product life cycle. So a life cycle also of a manufacturing machine. Of course, it has to be designed and engineered, produced, distributed. It comes into operation. It may undergo maintenance, repair, and overhaul. And finally, it has to be recycled somehow. And so your experiment can address any of those phases, or maybe more than one. So that's up to you how you design it. And we see potential experiment use cases in the areas listed here, and some of them even in bold letters to guide you a little bit more in what we want to see. So what we would like to see is that you use insights derived from digital twins to adapt the manufacturing machines, or even to redesign and evolve the industrial product in next generation of this IP. In engineering support, the testing and the simulation bit based on digital twins, using information collected from the field, for instance, optimize production planning, monitoring production for the purpose of predictive maintenance or for quality assurance tasks. In distribution, you may want to use information coming from the machines in the field to distribute production capacity, to better use the capacity that you already have. So this is a part of the manufacturing as a service concept. And in operation, faster adaptation to changing conditions, or the idea that you represent knowledge in the digital brain to facilitate faster and changing to these conditions. We have seen it at the beginning of the Corona crisis, as manufacturing SMEs have adapted to this challenge by producing different things that they have produced before, producing, for instance, masks when they first produced some kinds of clothes or so. So to enable faster changing, that is something that we would like to see digital twins are being applied for. Maintenance, repair, and overhaul, I have already mentioned predictive maintenance. That's just an example. And in the recycling phase, or in a more general sense, enabling more environmental friendly designs of production and production machines. You also may want to use data from the field and interpreting it in a digital twin, performing LCA analysis as an example to decide how to generate greener production. So those are all fields where we are looking for experiments to at least cover one of those fields. So the stakeholders that can benefit from, or that can be involved in an experiment and potentially create benefits from that, are listed here. This is somehow a repetition of what you have already seen, partially. So we have manufacturers of IPs. We have manufacturing companies, so the users that are using these manufacturing machines to actually produce goods. But then we have software vendors. We have the potential for consultancy companies to be a partner that may be specified or maybe focused and specialized, sorry, that was the word I was looking for, specialized on developing models that capture and describe a certain behavior. Digital innovation hubs, HPC centers, etc. So we have a set of more than 10 potential stakeholders, and this is just an excerpt. How can they benefit? I don't have the time to go into the details here, but I recommend reading the technical documents that elaborate a little bit more on the different stakeholders and which benefits we would like to see that the experiments are trying to achieve and how they can achieve them. For instance, by the management of assets, knowing what is on the shop floor, knowing which data, which model you have, you can more easily create digital twins by knowing about the assets, by combining them in a building block fashion, in a plug and play fashion. That's what we want to see in the experiments, striving for this kind of reuse of those components that they provide. The manufacturers of industrial products can benefit in different phases, for instance in engineering, for instance in production, and you have to give some KPIs in your proposal, what you have today, what you would like to achieve by the end of the experiment. And then the manufacturing companies, they have other benefits, they have other potential benefits. For instance, maximize the occupancy rate of their manufacturing machines, react faster to changing conditions, I mentioned that. Again, this is just an excerpt of the table that you find in the document, and I strongly recommend to read into it, but to interpret it as a guideline and not black and white. It's that and only that. And then again, here, for instance, in operation, better plan overhauling, minimize wear and tear, etc., etc. All by providing models that you develop within your experiment and provide that to the digital brain solution. So what do the technical partners of the experiments need to do and need to develop? Well, design, develop, apply, and verify digital twins for industrial products, families, or instances of a selected behavior. So it's up to you to decide what part of the behavior of the product you would like to implement and to model. Provide and adapt corresponding software tools, for instance, simulation tools, optimization tools, machine learning tools. Leverage cloud and edge and HPC-based computing. And here, DigitBrain helps you a lot with the automated orchestration, automated deployment and executing mechanisms that we have. We have an HPC center that you can use for your experiment. And then you are expected to provide these assets, the model, the data, and the algorithms. Well, the data, we are not actually storing the data that may be, maybe a safety or security issue. So that is completely your IP and your sovereignty, but we are supporting the data transfer from the shop floor to the algorithm or vice versa, deploying the algorithm on an edge device so that it can operate there. So you are expected to provide connectors to your factory data if needed and applications to visualize the results. And you are expected to showcase benefits, for instance, by customizing industrial products in terms of more cost-efficient production, distributed and or localized, and the evolution of the industrial products to changing conditions or even the next generation. By applying digital twins on instances of these machines or cohorts. So if you are interested in analyzing, I don't know, 10 or dozens of your IPIs, industrial product instances, you are welcome to do so in the experiment. So, and then integrate with the DigitBrain solution. You are expected to containerize your software in terms of Docker containers. You may need to modularize your software into microservice. Then DigitBrain supports you in publishing those assets, algorithm, model, and data. And you may want to define rules when certain actions are triggered. For instance, you would like to know, you would like to see a message if a sensor shows a temperature higher than 80 degrees, because then there may be something wrong with the manufacturing machine. So those rules have to be specified to be automatically evaluated, and then messages being sent to your operator. Optionally, you may provide visualization apps to better understand what's going on, what is in your data, etc., etc. You are expected to register your assets with the Digital Agora and publish a profile. So become a member of our network of members. And that brings me, I think, to my last slide. So what do we offer? We do offer this DigitBrain solution, which is work in progress. So it's not completely ready, and it is also evolving according to the requirements that we receive from experiments. So we try to incorporate and team up with you. We support you with our expertise and consultancy. However, we are not providing possibly all the tools that you can use the microphone. We are not expecting that we have all the tools that your experiment needs to be implemented. Instead, we are welcoming new tools to populate the digital agora to be used also by additional potential clients for these tools, for these models in the future. And the DigitBrain platform supports automated orchestration, automated deployment in different remote compute resources, cloud environments, HPC environments, but also on edge devices if you wish. So those are the main components, the digital agora, the platform components, also handling user management, etc., etc. So you are relieved from doing that, and you basically need to just describe your metadata, and then the platform is handling a lot of the tedious effort when it comes to deploying services on specific cloud platforms. We have abstracted from that. That is easing you the way into the cloud and into HPC computing. Okay, so further technical documents you find especially in the short tech document, which is available under the link shown here. And with that, I'd like to finish my presentation, and I will be open for questions in the Q&A session. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Andre. Actually, we already have a question for you, but I will leave the floor now to Dario in order to address all the questions in the Q&A. Okay, so please, Dario, you have the floor to present this really catchy presentation regarding one of the experiments that are running under Wave 1 for the validation of the DigitBrain project solutions. So.
Good morning to everyone. I hope you can see my screen. So, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yeah. So I'm Dario Petrarroia from Technology Transfer System. We are the ISV of experiment 5 out of 7 experiments that have been carried in the first wave. And in our case, the experiment overview is about the end user that is producing equipment, especially presses and laser cutting machines, but also is supplying complete production lines for the forming and cutting of aluminum and other metal sheets. So they provide equipment for a variety of operations. We are the independent software vendor, so we're providing our software solution and development. We have also other 2 partners, which are NXT Control, which is now a division of Schneider Electric, which are providing middleware to interface the real client with the DigitBrain platform to acquire data from the PLC of the machine, and start for 0.0, which is the iChain, which is coordinating the experiment. We are now on month 12 of the experiment. We are finishing the last touches to finalize the solution, and I will show you what we realized, what was the target of our experiment. So we were, because the design of a plant composed by different machines, it's often a complex task. One who works in manufacturing knows it relies on the experience of many people, and so very often you are in the bidding and negotiation phase, and you need to demonstrate to a potential customer that your solution is better than the other, because you know, in this type of production plant there's often a bidding phase. So we didn't want to realize only a single digital twin for our end user, but we realized a library, a catalog of modular prototypes. You can see here that each of these 3D models, it's a prototype of a machine that can be combined to to simulate then the performances of a production plant. This way, the end user could realize different solutions, compare which is best, and they can also better present the results of the simulation with the numbers and not just some maybe drawings or estimation based on the experience of the people which is designing the. Now you will see this is our software that we provided this experiment, but just for this experiment. Every other ISV provided their own tools. It's a DDD simulator. It's proprietary of TTS. It's an integrated 3D and discrete event simulation, which you can create, as you see, modular elements that can be used to compose a layout. In this case, we developed the simulation modules using the information from the end user, and then the end user is able to create the digital twin of the model without our help. That's the target. So we are still in the building phase. You can create a model with the interface that you say with the model editor, and you can compare to different layouts. You will see an example of what we have achieved during the model, because we used the test pilot plant to validate the simulation, which is already running. This is the pilot plant. So after the negotiation and building phase, why throw away the model? We already have a model that can be used as a digital twin to simulate the behavior of the plant. If we want, for example, to tune some parameters, understand which parameters can be changed to better improve the productivity. So the model is exported and can be used inside the DigitBrain solution as a digital twin, as what is called a model algorithm tuple. So we combine the model that we realize with our simulation engine, which is the algorithm that is going to run the model also on the DigitBrain solution. And this part can be used in other phases of the life cycle of the plant, because you can use it, for example, for production scheduling. You can simulate different scheduling options and see what's the better sequence on how to load the sequences, for example, especially if you have change mode, which is an operation which requires a lot of time. So how we integrated then this local solution inside the Cloud Broker platform? We have the real plant with the PLCs, and in the middle, that's what has been realized by NXT Control with as a CPSizer. So it's a middleware that transforms the legacy hardware, which is standard Siemens PLCs, into a cyber physical system. So we have an independence from the specific hardware here. We can send the data via MQTT, which is this standard protocol. We have now a server on TTS, but we will have the fireware infrastructure will be also offered part of the DigitBrain solution. And we can read the data from the real field and transfer it to digital thing. It's running on the Cloud Broker platform. So a little bit of explanation of how it worked for people which is quite used to shop floor, how NXT Control interfaced this. They created an interface with Modbus, but in that case, it's just because Modbus was a protocol which was already available in the factory. It can be interfaced with other protocols. And they convert to the EEC 61499 standard, which is distributed connectivity offers. It's a very modern connection standard for machine tools. You can have event-driven connectivity instead of the classical PLC loops. You can have a distributed shop floor that sends data, so you can monitor or control different shop floors as it was a centralized shop floor. So it has a lot of advantages, and this solution was developed by them, and we tested it on a press because it wasn't possible to test it on the real plant because they couldn't stop it for production because they need some modification. But now the presses that are output on Gigant, they have already the Modbus module to connect. Well, a little bit of more about the architecture. So interested anyway, we can, but we have some, each machine, it's a Modbus slave and it's sending on the bus, and there's a Modbus master, and we read the data from the Modbus master. So how the fiber architecture works, we send data from the app. We have a context broker which memorizes the state of the plant, and we can read it with the simulation with the interface that I will show you later. So this is the test model. It produces conditioned buttons for tanks. So these are then soldered on tanks. This is a cell, and this is the model that we realized. As you can see, this can be arranged in different solutions because this is replicating the already existing cell. Why we did this? Because we wanted to have some benchmark to validate our simulation. Otherwise, if we cannot have a benchmark, it's difficult then to be sure that the next plant designed with this tool will be realistic. You can see now the simulation running into the 3D environment, so you can have also visual feedback on how it's working, on the timing. You have the press, you have the trimming machine, which is cutting the edges. We have a stacking system. This is just a limited set of modules. The idea is now to expand also beyond the project. For the end of June, we want to add another press model and another loading system. So the end user will be able to propose alternative solution to possible customers. But okay, what we compared to alternative solution was a solution with one robot. Okay, it was easy. We already knew that the two robots were necessary, but as we said, it's a test to validate the tool. And with one robot, we saw that there was a bottleneck there, and there was a queue on the conveyor, and the production rate was not satisfying, the throughput was not satisfying. So we implemented the solution with the two robots, which is the real one. So then, this is the design phase. It's all pretty, I will not say standard, because I like to think that it's quite an innovative solution. But how then we integrate this into the platform, and what are the advantages of integrating our simulation with the platform? Imagine that you have this model that you want to use it into production planning. You don't need to see the 3D simulation. You just need the result data, because 3D simulation is nice. You can validate the plant, see if everything is working well. But when you need, for example, to use it for production scheduling, you want very fast response just to run in the ground. So why install all our environment? You would need the license of our simulation environment. With the DigitBrain platform, we created a web-based interface, we call it Digital Twin Simulation Service, which can run different models. So this platform can be used, the user can upload different instances of models and change some parameters on the production plan, and then running it on the web interface and having results of the simulation. So here we see some parameters. For example, we can see that the state of the press, it's most in the loading and unloading phase. So if we want to maybe tune the plant to improve the productivity, and we don't want to do it by trial and error on the real plant, we can check to see if we can maybe put a more faster loading system to decrease this time, because 60% of the press, just an example of this use case, it's saturated. There's not a screenshot now, but we can also have the dashboard, which can read the data from coming from the PLCs, and you can import the data as the parameters. Part, for example, the first cycle time. If you want, for example, to do a simulation with a full plant, you want to start from the actual condition, you can read from the plant how many pieces the press still have to work for that batch and start from there. Well, this integration has great advantages because you can distribute really this can be accessed by a simple password. It's web-based. You don't have to install everything. You have a common platform. This interface could also be used from not only from our user Gigant, but from the customer if they want some tools that we have to monitor and simulate the plant. So this is the part in which the having platform can also be combined with other digital twins, which simulates other behaviors. We simulate the productivity. We could have another digital twin in the DigitBrain platform, which simulates the physics of the press, for example, with an FEM algorithm. Because I would like not to be mistaken. This type of application is our experiment. We provided our software. We are glad to provide it to our customer, but all the other experiments provided their own software, their own tools, and worked to integrate them with the platform. So thank you for your interest. If you have any question, we have now the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Dario, for your presentation. I hope you can, all the people connected would have appreciated your intervention, because it's really not only catchy but also self-explanatory of the journey, I think, of your experiment. So now it's Q&A time. I will, let's say, go through the questions arrived to the chat in the order of arrival. So Martina asked who should be a lead partner in the project. Is the end user the leading partner? This has been already addressed by Isabel. I just would add a comment on that, because yes, as Isabel said, the leader of the experiment from a formal point of view should be the end user, but of course you can have a technical leader who will be the one who liaises directly with the DIH in the proposal preparation, but also the one, and this is really important, I think, the one that will liaise with the technical co-partners also of the DigitBrain project in the experiment execution. So this is important because I think that also Dario could confirm that the most of the effort is put on the software vendor, or however the technical partner's shoulders. And this is very important also in the proposal preparation, because you have to take this into account, in my opinion, when you allocate the resources and the budget of your experiment among the consortium partners. Okay, so then I will thank you. I would thank all the ones that are sharing their contacts. And who are providing an overview of their organization. This leads me to another comment, who I think it's of interest, because we, as DIHs within the projects, we regularly meet among us, and we try to not only to take stock of the situation regarding the most mature and promising experiment proposal which are already there, but also to try to matchmaking the potential applicants. Okay, of course, it's not an easy task. It's in some way it is easier to have a consortium based on a use case already there and building up from let's say a consolidated commercial relationship. But in this matchmaking exercise, it is very challenging but useful in building up a cross-border consortium. Cross-border consortium means that the application provided by that consortium, if technically and formally is evaluated above threshold, can benefit also of a rewarding criteria for being a cross-border experiment. Okay, so I think that this is also important, and also important that this parallel, let's say, matchmaking exercise with a view at proposing experiment in the open call is also from the commercial side reinforced by the digital agora. So basically, I think Andre mentioned it in the chat. So the cloud broker, which also the digital marketplace of DigitBrain builds upon, is a place where you can register and also to share your expertise, your tools, and also where end user can grab and benefit from the innovation of vendors and other technical partners. There is Thailand, who was asking if they are a vendor, so if they can develop their own software solution. Of course you can. I think that Andre could better address this. We are seeking exactly for that. For new tools and new solutions to be embedded in the DigitBrain platform. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andre, and if you want to add something more, feel free to do so.
Yeah, let me add a few sentences. I think it's important, probably for a couple of people in the audience. Okay, so DigitBrain is basically in a very simplified manner, it is an execution environment for software that you register, provide as containerized microservices. So that is one part. It's not the only part. Maybe it's also not the main thing, but this is actually the base, one of the basic functionalities. So when you would like to serve one of the manufacturing SMEs that you are talking to in a consortium with your own software, what you have to make sure, and maybe before actually sending in the proposal, by discussing with us to which extent your software needs to be adapted to be used and executed in the DigitBrain solution. One adaptation that is typically needed is the containerization of the software. Dario has touched on that as well. And most of the software that we have been faced with were able to be adapted and executed on this platform. So there is no magic, no voodoo behind that. One side remark: it has been recommended also by the European Commission that the experiments do not start with non-existing software and try to develop something completely from scratch within an experiment, within 12 months, just to minimize the risk of failure in an experiment. So if you already have a software and you think you could benefit from DigitBrain as an environment for cloudification, execution on different resources, etc., then that may be the better starting position than to say, I would like to implement a new software from scratch. Let's go for an experiment. If you are in this position, you better go for a different kind of project than an application experiment. In case of TTS, their simulation software has existed before they started the experiment and they have done certain adaptations and additions to make it fit for DigitBrain, if you like. Dario, if you like to add some details on that, but maybe not necessary depending on the interest of the audience.
Okay, I think that we also have other questions pertaining different aspects. So again, Martina asking if there is an access to DigitBrain and Digital Agora platforms. She said that both are necessary to include into the project activity, so it would be great to know how exactly they have to be utilized and integrated into the experiment from the technical point of view. I think that there is an explanation for that in the document toolkit. If you want Andre to address quickly this regarding the dimension that has to be done to the DigitBrain and digital solutions, and especially Digital Agora platform within the project proposals.
Yeah, so there are basically only three things to know here. You have to provide your program, your software as a container. Our preferenced container technology is Docker. We may be open to other technologies as well. You have to then describe this microservice with some metadata, and we provide an interface for entering this metadata, and you have to register this in the Digital Agora. Registration in Digital Agora is a matter of a few hours. Filling the metadata is probably the same effort. The most effort you may have with Dockerization, but there are experts in the consortium that can help you with that.
Thank you very much. Then there is one question, I guess for me, because Rafael, thank you for asking, wants to know if in case of an experiment project composed by companies from different countries, and that's really good, I think, for the cross-border dimension, should we contact with different DIAs or only with one? In the case, which one? The closer to the experiment leader or another one? Okay, let's say that at the end of the day, it makes no difference because, as I said before, on a weekly basis, we exchange information. So I would suggest to choose among the one that you feel more close to you in terms of mission. Maybe you can have a look at the websites and the description in order to better envisage which could be also the opportunities in contacting each DIH for also with a view at future collaboration beyond the DigitBrain projects. But in any case, whoever you will contact, you will be, however, supported, because we are, especially if you have already a strong consortium and an innovative and interesting use case to apply with. Then I hope I have answered your question. If not, just ask in the chat, and I will come back to you. Then there is Hussein, which is recalling an important thing regarding the intellectual property condition in the DigitBrain projects. You can find some, I think it's a quite tough argument, let's say, subjects to be dealt with during a webinar, but you can find the information, I guess, in the short technical documents. And of course, if you have more questions, don't hesitate to write at the centralized address or to the DIAs. Then this is important, Anna Isabel. I would like to ask the TRL, technology readiness level, expected at the completion of the experiments on the first wave. I'm not sure why you are, I mean, this will be common, I think, to all the experiment, but as you can see, that TRL is pretty high in that, because they, as you have seen from at least the example of TTS, I think they are they will be ready to use it on a commercial basis in their day-to-day bidding phase and client relationship. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Andre, please, if you wanted to have a short sentence on the expected TRL, this could be helpful.
Yes. Yeah, this is actually not so much a technical question than it is a political matter. If we consider the history of the program, I4MS, Antonio has mentioned that. It's a program meant to help the manufacturing SMEs in Europe to transform, to digitize. So from the political point of view, at the same time, the experiment shall achieve a level close to commercialization, so that at the end of the experiment, the commercialization of the result is reachable, and at the same time, the experiment should still have an experimental character. So it's not meant to be just, okay, I have a product, I'd like to develop the next generation, I need money, I need support. It still needs to have a little bit of risk and innovation. And it was one of the first speakers, I think it was Giacomo, hinting at we are looking for innovative use cases. And again, that's a bit delicate, because when is a use case innovative and when is it not innovative? In that complex, you have to consider that this is a program for SMEs. And SMEs sometimes are incredibly innovative, much more innovative than the big players. But it can also happen that some of the experiment that you would like to do has already been done by a global player, by a big company. And that's not a showstopper, because you can still argue that the experiment is innovative for you as a manufacturing SME. And if you justify this, you have to justify the innovation within your context in the proposal to make this clear. So you don't have to do new things beyond state of the art, no matter where and what the state of the art is. It has to be innovative in your context. I think that's also an important aspect to take into consideration.
Thank you very much, Andre. I think I have another question for you from Liliana, Dalma Robotics, which is a startup and has already developed a digital twin and a manufacturing company. Basically, they developed a smart intralogistics service by connecting the ERP system with an autonomous mobile robot and with an automatic warehouse. So she's asking if applying this or a similar system to another company would be eligible for the DigitBrain program. I think that I mean the replication is connected to the concept of the innovation that Andre was highlighting before. Because if the new company, the new end user is having I guess a different problem statement and a different industrial product with a different production line or whatever, probably it could be in principle, let's say, eligible for the DigitBrain project open call. Correct me if I'm wrong at any time, please, Andre.
Yeah,
or
as
I will
said, I mean,
skip.
So replication is welcome by the EC on the political level, but an experiment has to have still an experimental facet. If you take what you have one-to-one install it instead of company A, install it in company B, then you probably not having this experimental character. And you may not have enough work to be done to fill the template of an experiment, if you like. So with some adaptation, I think, yes, I agree to Giacomo. If it's just copy and paste what you have elsewhere, then you may not come across well, because we are not the ones evaluating the experiment. That's also something which is important to know. So your proposal will be sent out to independent experts for evaluation. They are under NDA, but we are not the only ones deciding about success and failure of the submitted proposals. We only have one voice or one vote out of 3, and we are going to check the technical feasibility. All the other parts are checked by independent experts according to the criteria that are part of the proposal template. So as you see from the proposal template, you have to fulfill certain criteria. You have exactly the same information as the independent experts will have to assess whether your experiment suggestion is worth funding, to put it straight.
Thank you very much for this, clarification regarding the way the innovation feature, let's say, would be evaluated. So actually from external independent evaluators. So then would an experiment-based, Anna Isabel is asking, based on composite manufacturing, fit with the focus of this first open call? I believe yes, it depends on the use case and on a number of other things, but we are targeting the manufacturing sector at large. So with different segments potentially promoting, use cases. Then there is also Pedro, who is asking regarding the innovation proposals, would you support Kubeflow pipelines in Agora platform for machine learning deployment? I'm not sure how to answer this question. Andre, can you see it?
I sent a private message to Pedro. I think yes, but I have to double check. I'm asking Pedro to send me an email directly to follow up on that. Perfect.
So I think that this we are having, pretty focused question and also some general ones which are I think interesting for several others connected. And I must say that they are recurrent questions that we have been, receiving since the open call launch, such as the one of Michael. Does a cross-border consortium is necessary or desirable, or all partners can be from one country? Yes, as I said, it is desirable. Is not compulsory to have a cross-border consortium in the proposal, but it gives access to one of the rewarding criteria which are specified in the guide for applicants. So basically, of course, if your consortium and your proposal is strong enough, we are seeking for cross-border impact, but it's better to have a strong proposal and a strong consortium with a national dimension than a weak proposal and a weak consortium with a cross-border nature. Because if your proposal is not above the threshold in the evaluation, then it cannot access to the rewarding criteria as well. So this is the answer to this question. I think there are not other questions anymore, but I would of course encourage you to contact us at the centralized open call account or directly directly as DigitBrain representatives. I would like to conclude by thank you very much for the participation and the interest for this open call. And to keep for the records in this historical moment, I am happy to leave you because I have to get my dose of vaccine. For the skeptics, this is a message, not so, go out and vaccinate if you can. Thank you again. Thank you to the presenters. Thank you to Andre, to Antonio, and to Dario, and of course also to Isabel and those that contributed to answering the question posed by the participants.
Yeah. Thank you all, and we are looking forward to see interesting proposals.
Thank you very much.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.